Has it ever felt like you're doing everything right, eating healthy, working out, but your energy still crashes? Or your mood swings hit out of nowhere? I know I have. What I've learned is that a lot of these issues are tied to changes in my hormones. That's where Happy Mammoth comes in. They offer a free 2-minute quiz that can help you uncover the root cause of your hormonal symptoms. It's super easy. Just answer a few questions. You'll get a personalized recommendation to help support your hormones and start feeling better. From the hormone quiz, I learned that my estrogen rises and falls unevenly. So the solution is hormone harmony, which could help with bloating, anxiety, fatigue, overwhelm, and more. Ready to start feeling like yourself again? Head over to happymammoth.com and take their free 2-minute hormone quiz today to find the ultimate answer to your stubborn hormonal issues. And for a limited time, you can also get 15% off your entire first order with our code DATEABLE at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off today.
Anyone else so busy these days that it can be hard to find the time to shop, yet alone pick out a good outfit? That's where Armoire comes in. With a clothing rental membership, you can effortlessly turn heads with stylish, everyday looks tailored just for you. In the last couple months, we've done so many book events, and I don't know what I would have done without Armoire. It's been my literal lifesaver, where I can try all sorts of clothing and swap them out if they aren't the right fit, or if I just want different styles. What I love the most is trying new pieces I wouldn't necessarily want to commit to buying, like wide-leg jeans or blazers. Sometimes it's been a no, but other times I've been pleasantly surprised, and I've loved expanding my style a bit with Armoire. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/dateable. That's armoire.style, ARMOIRE.style/dateable to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable.
And we're also welcoming back a previous guest of ours, Marni Battista.
Marni Battista, who... I feel like when I was lost in dating in my 20s, she was my savior. Marni Battista. I don't know how I found her.
I heard all about Marni before even meeting Marni.
Yeah.
And then we had the opportunity to get Marni on the podcast. It was a huge deal.
She changed my dating life. Okay.
She did.
I still have so much respect for her. I love every time we talk to her. She's such an engaging speaker, so much insight. But what really stood apart back then is that there were a lot of rules-based dating coaches when I was, I don't know when this was. What's time anymore? 2000.
What? I know. Early 2000s.
Well, post-college. But anyways, or 2010-ish, I would say. That's when I found Marni. And there was a lot of rule-based approaches. And she was kind of like that no BS, stay authentic to you, really tune into yourself. And I think we bring a lot of that even in Dateable. And I think that message has really stayed with me all these years.
And she has taken a career pivot because she was this incredible dating coach, which makes sense. She's now an incredible life coach, also entrepreneur, author of the book Living Radically. She's very much preaching this living your authentic life with you at the center, which is exactly what she did for you in your dating life.
Yeah. And we can continue to do through a dating lens, which we do talk about in this episode, of course.
It's so good to have her back. She is full of stories and full of attitude. I just love her attitude.
She does.
It's like no BS. She's like, cut that. I don't tolerate BS. No fluff.
We also had a really funny interview for How to Be Dateable on her podcast, Life Check Yourself. It was like one of my favorite ones we did. Remember we were talking about nicknames and she was talking about like sideways dick or something?
Oh,
Side
my
dick.
God.
I forget.
Side dick.
It stayed with us.
Yeah, we have this running joke of like who we want to get a drink with. And Marni's always been at the top of our list We'll make it happen one of these days.
Yeah, we were at that sushi place that I'm obsessed with in Santa Monica that I hope I get to go to again. Not Santa Monica, in Culver City.
Yeah.
It started with, I thought
Oh, yeah.
so we had a guest, Allison Raskin. You might know her. She wrote a book about marriage. We had her as a guest where we talked about modern day marriage and all of that. And we're at this sushi place. And I was like, is that Allison Raskin? Because she lives in LA too. So it wasn't so far off.
Yeah.
And we've only met her through the screen. Like we were on her podcast, she was on ours, but I've never seen her in person. And I'm like looking at her, and I'm like, I don't know if it's her. And then it started this whole conversation of like, who would we want to get a drink with? And then she walks by, like the woman at the end.
Not her.
So not her.
Like not even close.
But you saw what I meant. There was a resemblance from afar.
Oh, absolutely. I had my back to her, so I didn't do the creepy like look back really quick. And through the corner of my eye, I was like, yeah, that could be her. That could definitely be her. But then when she came up close, it was like, not even close.
It's happened to me recently. And don't you feel like such a creeper when you're like staring someone down too?
Always.
With it?
Yeah.
This happened to me that I thought I saw my old boss when I worked at Yahoo like a zillion years ago. And I loved him. He was a great guy. I haven't seen him in 15 years. And I'm like at this coffee shop and I just like keep looking over at him. And I was like, it's so him. I'm like texting my friend that worked there too. And I'm like, I think I see John. She's like, are you going to go up to him? And I'm like 90% sure it's him. And there's like this little bit of me that's like unsure. So I'm like looking. And then of course he gets up and walks by too to use the bathroom. Not even remotely, like probably like 20 years younger than what like this guy. And I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't go up to him. And I was like, John. He's like, who the F are you?
You know what's crazy though? Sometimes I have to really second guess myself because I remember people for how they looked back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't age people in my mind because I have no idea how to age people with my imagination. So yeah, sometimes I do see the younger version of someone and it's uncanny, but you know it's not them because it's from your memory of them 20 years ago.
Right. I'm like, I'm clearly still in my 20s, so they are too.
I'm clearly still the same.
But I wish we had seen Marni because she would be a hoot.
Yeah, she used to live in LA. So we thought that, the chances of running into Marni was pretty high too, but then she moved. So crushed our dreams.
I love this conversation though. I think it's so important because we really do need to take it back to us. And I think when people, we've been on our book tour for quite some time now, and people are always like, what's different in this book? And we always go back to, we take the shift off of the terrible people in the dating world, the apps and how awful they are and all the external. We put it back on ourselves. And that's not to say like, oh, all the things we need to fix about ourselves, but more of like, how do we honor ourselves? How do we stay true to ourselves? How do we like peel back all this dating BS that we've been taught for years and just show up as our authentic self? And this conversation that we're having today really aligns with all of that in so many ways. So hopefully it'll inspire people to shed that date self and show up more authentic. And what that even means.
Marni went through this life-changing situation where she was in a ski accident. And I feel like a lot of this sort of mindset comes from people who went through something life-altering. And I appreciate people like Marni sharing the wisdom they got from these experiences so that we don't have to go through near-life experiences to learn these lessons. And I hope we see this as a gift that we don't have to get to that point of a ski accident or whatever it may be to learn this. And she has beautifully written it all out in her book.
Yeah, I think it's like those life moments that are near-death experiences or potentially to really uproot your life. It really reflects back of like what's important. What am I spending my time doing? Why am I doing things that don't bring me joy or aren't actually like reflective of who I am? And, Marni is reinventing herself in this next wave of turning what she did so well in dating into like more life in general. And I love just how she talks about like, you're never too old to reinvent yourself. It's never too late. And I think I need that reminder sometimes because I feel like I can fall victim to like time's running
The
out or
milestones. Yeah. The timeline.
yeah. Or it's like, well, then you're starting over. And it's like, you're never
Yeah.
starting over. You're always starting from experience.
The life moments are the most important. This is going to be a crazy pivot, Julie. Sorry. Sorry to everybody listening. Here's a crazy pivot because we've been talking about AI. AI has just been top of the conversation for everybody. You know, so many people are scared of AI taking away jobs, whatnot. I actually think AI is going to give us our time back. Have AI do all the shit that doesn't really matter in life,
Yeah.
like making your PowerPoint presentations so you can have some time to connect with your friends and your family and your loved ones. We get to have some time back. I think that's like what we can really use AI for.
It's good as long as it doesn't take away people's like livelihood to like support themselves, right?
Sure. Yeah.
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I actually saw this billboard up today that was like, hire AI and stop hiring humans. And I was like, it was like to the point of what you're saying is like, let them do the shitty work that you don't want to do. And I'm like, get it in theory, but there's something about that messaging that maybe needs a little bit of a tweak.
I know.
Or in marketing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Let's increase the unemployment rate. You know, like that's basically what it's saying. Because that's what everyone's scared of with AI is taking their jobs away. But yes, there's always going to be a balance, just like with dating apps. If we overuse it, then we overdose on it and then it's toxic. But dating apps also were so beneficial and like so efficient for the way we can meet all kinds of different people. We just have to know how to use this technology in the right way.
I mean, this is another example. It's similar, but not with AI. But like sometimes like you're doing stuff and you're just like, do I need to do that?
Yeah.
Like, is this actually a task that needs to be done at all? And I love those exercises. I remember you and I even doing that.
Yes.
And we're like, we don't like doing this. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, our promo video.
Yes.
We would spend all this time thinking about like, how do we do this really cool promo video? And then like, if it wasn't like a great idea, it felt weak. And then we're like, no one cares.
Doesn't even move the needle.
They just want to get to the next season. Like if we put up a post that's like the season's up, that's enough.
Listen, this is the best comparison ever because you all know we do our podcast in seasons. That's really for our own sanity. So we can take a little breather in between a batch of episodes. We all know you don't give a fuck what season we're on. You're not keeping track. It is exact same as keeping track of my friend's kids' ages. Like, oh, my kid is 168 months. No, it is. I think it is exactly the same. When friends tell me their kids' ages in months, I'm like, I don't care. Like that absolutely does not affect me at all. I have I can't even fathom like what 38 months is. Like I don't know and I don't care. Just give me years and then I'll get them a birthday present, okay?
For the record, we care how old your kids are. Just put it in a way that's tangible. That's easy.
Like, just tell me what you want. Is it a birthday party or are you just like trying to flex your muscles of counting months? It's the same. I'm just saying it's the same with our seasons. Like, we know you guys don't care. It's just for us to keep track for our own sanity.
Definitely a tangent, but I think doing a life audit of like what's necessary, what's keeping me fulfilled. I'll give it another parallel is wedding planning. People are like, wow, wedding planning hasn't been that difficult. Doesn't seem that stressful. And then I'm like, well, I'm just not doing a lot of stuff. Like I look on TikTok and people are going wild. Like all the little details they're doing. And I'm just like, wow, that didn't even cross my mind before I saw this video. And I'm like, does anyone remember what favors you put out? Does anyone remember any of this stuff? People are like hand making stuff. And I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to opt out. And again, if this brings you joy and you love doing it, by all means, go do it. I'm not saying that. I think with Marni's whole point of view too, it's like, what is the stuff that lights you up and do more of that? And guess what? In turn, that's usually when you meet people. We're going to turn it to dating. And then what's the stuff that drains your energy? And like, how do we reduce that? Because that doesn't put anyone in a good mindset for dating or for life in general.
Julie and I manage the same TikTok account and I don't swipe on TikTok. So my My patterns do not affect the algorithm at all, but
It's
I know
been a
she
lot
does
of wedding
because
stuff lately.
I will open TikTok and it's just like, here are the paper airplanes I made for my wedding. And I'm like, okay. And then it'll be like, this is why San Francisco is the best. Like, you know what she's swiping on. But I was just thinking, like, if you really want to get to know someone or want to know if your partner's cheating on you, just go on their social media because the algorithm is just giving them what they've been looking at.
And then it will get rid of it quick too. Like if I stop engaging, I'm gonna do it because I don't even like those videos because they're
God.
terrible.
Every
Like
time I'm like, is Julie doing this? I'm judging these videos so hard. I'm like,
no,
is she doing these paper airplanes?
They're really horrible. And I'm sorry if you're into like all this stuff, not trying to offend, but like I personally, they're not for me. And then yes, when I look at them, I don't want to do it, but it's like a train wreck. I can't stop looking at them. I'm going to get out of the algorithm. Let's see how fast it happens. I do notice that it is kind of funny sharing an account. This is our last tangent, but like your partner always sends messages.
Oh, like always.
And I like never look at that because I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't see this. And I'll just like show his name. It's like, send a message. And I'm like, I'm not gonna look at that.
I know.
Does he know I'm on there?
No, I don't think he does. That's a really good reminder. I should tell him. Also, I'm like, why are you a 51-year-old on TikTok? Like, get off TikTok.
Well, it's funny because like you're not even the one like swiping through it. Like you're not even like spending your time on TikTok.
I don't look at TikTok at all.
Basically messaging me and I'm just ignoring him.
No, it frustrates me. It's like him messaging you. Yeah, it's like indirectly because he'll send these videos he's like really into mindset and it's good stuff. But every time he sends it to me, I'm like, I don't look at it.
Yeah, he's like, did you get it? And you're like, I didn't. Nope. And then I'm like, I can't open it.
Oh, too funny. All right. Major tangent. But we're
Major tangent. But we're going to move on to Marni because she has so much wisdom to dispel for all of us. Remember to get the book, How to Be Dateable. Also get her book, Radical Living Challenge. You can pick them both up, Amazon, wherever books are sold. And they're such a good pair. They kind of round out your life very nicely. So howtobedateable.com, you can get everything there, including the dating archetypes quiz. If you haven't taken it yet, check that out for free. Okay.
Yay.
Well, before we get into it, let's hear a message from our sponsors.
Once the weather started getting warmer, I realized I was back in the same worn-out rotation. Same tank, same shorts, same everything. So I gave my daily uniform an upgrade with Quince. Their pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make me feel more put together without even trying. Like 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30, luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. Now, my favorite summer item has been the super soft bike shorts that are so perfect for everyday wear and has the quality of high-end athleisure brands. But by cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/DATEABLE to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dateable.
So I've been hearing about Skims for a while now, but I never really understood the hype. But let me tell you, it is legit. I don't think I'll ever wear another brand of underwear again, I swear. That's how obsessed I am. I love both the boy shorts and the racerback scoop bralette. They feel like no other underwear I've ever worn before. Literally, it feels like you aren't even wearing underwear because the fabric melts on your skin. Yet it still has the support I need, which is seriously just blows my mind in the best way possible. I don't know what they put into this fabric, but it feels like pure bliss, and I will be 100% getting all my wedding garments from Skims because I can't go back at this point. Hopefully you all could experience this level of comfort too. Shop Skims Fit's everyday collection and more at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know I sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select Dateable in the drop-down menu that follows. Okay, let's hear it from Marni Battista.
Welcome back to Dateable, Marni. I love saying your full name, Marni Battista. It just sounds so regal.
Yeah.
My ex-husband did me right in that department. So there you go.
You're like, thank you for giving me a good last name.
Totally. And I'm like now at the beginning of the alphabet, which is like so great for all things lines and orders. I was at the end growing up. So no, it's all good. Thanks.
Thank you for being on our show again, Marni. It's so nice to have you back since the last time we spoke in 2019.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing it was before I had my ski accident, before everything, my dad dying, all that. So this was my other life.
Basically the catalyst for your book that we're going to talk about. So we're so excited to have you back. I mean, last time we talked about dating with dignity, which was your brand for a long time. And I mean, I've talked about this on the podcast. Like I found your content years before Dateable, like when I was in the thick of it. So it is like full circle for me to always see you and have these conversations with you. So we're excited to have you back.
Thank you.
So living a radical life, what does that mean to live a radical life?
Yeah. So my mission is to create a movement whereby living a life free of the shoulds and outside what you were raised to believe in culture and Instagram is telling you, to do what really blows your hair back and really live by what is a full expression of who you are. And I was on with a bunch of clients the other day and they were talking about their dreams and like what they really want to do and how limiting it is when the interior of your world is all about like, what are other people going to think? Or what is this supposed to look like? And as a dating coach only for like, 12, 13, 14 years, that's some of the biggest work I did was like, your list may not be actually not only unrealistic, but like, is that really, really what you need and want? Is that really going to give you the kind of intimacy and connection and all of those things? And so the shoulds are everywhere for us in all areas of our life.
Totally. I think in dating and relationships, like we hear this all the time. There's just like a lot of this pressure to conform, or maybe you don't even think about it. It's just like the norm to be like, yeah, of course I date, get married, have kids, move to the burbs, have the white picket fence, like that whole thing. Why do you think this is the default and people don't give it more thought?
What's really interesting to me is, so now my kids are like adults and so they're like in their late 20s. And what I'm hearing from them is that this pressure to do this certain thing is actually louder than it's ever been.
Interesting.
Which is so ironic because as women, we're the most free we've ever been. We're making more money than we ever have. We have more possibility. And yet there's this like belief that like of the timeline. And I think that the timeline impacts all of us at every decade. So now it's like, you need to have your career by this. So if you're going to have a career and you want to work and you want to get married, but then you need to have kids before you're this age because you don't want your eggs to be old. And it's almost like the information about what is going to make us happy is so skewed because the external influences are just massive. So I think that the shoulds are just getting amplified by our culture.
Well, there's one side of the comparison trap, which is what we're seeing right now. But then there's also what I hear a lot from the younger generations is that they're like, I'm living life aimlessly. I need a little structure. I need a timeline because I need to know what I'm building a life for. And because we're inundated with all this information, people think, oh, here are all these experts telling me what to do with my life. Like, I feel like there's a little need for the shoulds, not in the toxic way. So how do we strike that balance of, yes, let's not be in the confines of other people's timelines, but we also need a little direction?
Yeah, well, I think that's really important. Like, I'm a huge fan of what I call life design, which obviously is how do you actually design a life that is, one that blows your hair back. And so what's interesting is that our mind may not know what it is that we truly want because we are thinking in a way that is limited by mostly, and I wrote about this recently as well, if our confines are based on what other people are doing, then we're not thinking. We're joking about ChatGPT, right? Which is an amazing resource. But also if you don't think,
right,
it's not going to work for you. Like you have to have some thought and you have to really let it know what you want and talk to it and all of those things, right? So I think what happens is if someone says like, well, this is what my parents did, so I don't want to do that. Or this is what people at work are doing, so I do want to do that. That's not going to be helpful. So what I propose is to think about this based on the design thinking model, which is out of Stanford University, which is how products are developed. So if your life is a product and you're the user, you need to actually do a process by where you actually discover what your timeline is and what your vision is that is really for you. And by experimenting or prototyping, as it's called in the design world, you are actually testing things out. You're in an iterative experience where you're getting feedback from life and you're pivoting and you're adjusting rather than saying like, okay, here's what I want. I need to make like $150,000 by the time I'm 29. And I need to be like married at 30 so that I can have kids at 32. And then we need to travel and live like, where did you get that?
As a former user experience designer, this makes me so happy to hear the correlation. But it's funny because it's called human-centered design. But it is like, it's more about like talking to users. But at the end of the day, like what you said is you can very much apply that to like building your own life.
Yeah, you're the user. So instead of just like going like, well, because here's the thing, and I think this is what's happening to people at different decades of their life too, is someone gave me the best example. She said, when my son was 10, he loved Sonic. And so we had Sonic birthday parties and he had Sonic stuffed animals and like posters. And now he's 27. And so if I went to his 27th birthday and I was like, here's a Sonic, like he'd be like, what? Right? But like, of course you're not going to love Sonic when you're 27. But like 10-year-old you may have wanted to be an X when you grow up. And you were like, I'm going to be a scientist and I'm going to take science and I'm going to go get my undergrad and then I'm going to go get my master's. And now you're like 35 and maybe you just got your PhD and you're like, oh shit, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And people are like, and that can be in a marriage, it can be in any sort of thing. So you go, okay, don't panic. The user has changed. And we don't freak the heck out when we got what we want and it's not making us happy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a major lesson we've heard is when we are so milestone driven that it doesn't contribute to our happiness at all when we reach those milestones, because once you reach them, there's that next milestone. So what's a better way of looking at life that's not milestone based? Because people feel like they need to be progressing somehow.
I like the use of the word being a creator in your life.
I like that.
Right? So a creator has an orientation where the value is on the journey and the experience, not only the destination. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we're very performance based as a society.
Yes.
Especially here in America, right? Where like you do something great, you get a cookie, right? And so you just want that dopamine, you want the rewards. And so if we don't do it like we thought we were going to do it, or it doesn't go the way we want, or we don't get what we want, we're like, oh, I suck. And in dating, it's like, well, I went on 4 dates. They were bad. Men suck. Women suck. Like, I'm out. Right.
Right. Or what's wrong with me. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So creator orientation is like, wow, I went on these 4 dates. Okay. So if I don't go with I suck, or if I don't go with men suck, or the app suck, or my city sucks, then I could ask what I call wisdom seeking questions in the book, which is like, I wonder what my soul, my journey is here for to serve me. Like, what am I supposed to be learning from this? Like, how could I grow? Is this a me thing? Am I not taking it seriously? Am I being a people pleaser? And so when you're a creator, the journey has value so that you can actually enjoy your life along the way. And then you feel empowered as well because you're creating your experiences in so many different ways.
This is really nice and validating to hear because like when we actually were writing our book, we were looking at like the subset of daters we've talked to over the years and like, why is there one group that's just miserable that feels like dating is the worst. And then we have another group that's thriving, that's meeting great people, but also like enjoying the process. And one of the big things we looked at was what you just said of one group being very attached to why didn't I get the next date? Not even asking like, do I even like this person, but just wanting to progress. And the other group looking at dating as a growth opportunity and a personal journey. But I think it's hard to shift out of that mentality, especially the way that dating culture is enforced today of like having these milestones. Like what advice would you give to someone that maybe is struggling with that transition to get into creator mode?
Well, I think the first thing that you can ask yourself is if this were happening for me and not to me.
We love that question.
If I looked at it like I would at a work situation, because most of the people who you're talking about are like professionals and there's no crying in baseball, so to speak, right? Like, so if you're working on something and it's just not going well, you don't get just to go to your boss or, go to your whatever and just be like, you know what? This sucks. I'm out. Okay, well, what do we need to learn from this? Like, what's happening? How can we be empowered and solve it, right? And so the question is, if you take a step back and you don't make it be about you, because honestly, it's literally not about you. If you think that, then probably there's something going on internally. Maybe you're leaking that. Maybe you're attracting that. Yeah. So once we start to get into like in the work situation, you're like, well, we need to isolate the actual problem. We need to move the data around, right? Like then you go, oh, well, if I approach this as like anything else, do I need to eat more macros or do I need to, run more and walk less or whatever it is if I'm training for a race? So if this is just a problem that needs to be solved from like a different approach, and I'm empowered to fix that.
Like a designer, they always be iterating.
Yes, date like a designer. I love that. Always be iterating.
There's this thought going around that if you are emotionally unavailable, it actually means you're afraid to be seen fully. What are your thoughts on that? Like if you are this product and you're like, I think I'm just putting out this disconnected person out there, how do you bring this product back and iterate on it? What's that next step?
It's funny. I had a client the other day that I interviewed for my podcast, and she was like, I didn't even know how I was sabotaging myself because I just thought, like these guys aren't really what I'm looking for. And, I'm very busy and all of those things. And so the first thing that she had to do was take personal responsibility for realizing that she actually was afraid. I call it the unconscious gain from being single. At an unconscious level, you do get something from it.
Yeah.
From being unavailable, right?
Oh,
and so she was like, no one's going to ask me, why did you buy a $5,000 purse? I don't have to go to like your nephew's bar mitzvah in like, Fargo. I don't have to say no and I don't have to whatever. And so she was like, I really realized that the gains of all those things, I don't have to get hurt. I don't have to set boundaries. I don't have to say no. I always reject you, so no one's going to reject me. All those things, right, were like actually big wins for her that she didn't even realize she had. And so she had to make a decision. Am I willing to look at some of those things and figure out how to set boundaries and say no to things that I don't want to do, but also be kind and have my life, but also have one that's like interdependent. And then you trace it back to her previous relationships and you're like, oh, this all makes perfect sense, right? So the answer is, if things aren't working, could it be me? And what are some things I get, even though I intellectually want a relationship so bad? Because that's what people say to me. They're like, I don't know. There is no unconscious gain. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this work with you. There is no gain. I want to find, and I'm like, let's go deeper.
So fascinating. I mean, I think a big piece of it too is like how you feel in life always directly like correlates to dating and relationships too. We hear people being like, oh, well, I just need to focus on dating. And it's like very siloed, but they don't look at the bigger picture of just like how you are in other parts of life. And I know from my personal experiences, when I'm feeling better in just the life I'm living, then that bleeds into dating and it in turn gives more positive experiences. Like, how do you see the two correlating? And like when you live that authentic life, how does that come into dating and relationships?
Well, it's really interesting. I was teaching this mindfulness course on goal setting, but think about when you're laying in bed at night and you're like, it's 10:07. I'm only going to get X amount of hours of sleep. I really need to fall asleep. Oh my gosh, I need to go to sleep. Oh, now it's 10:30. Oh God, I really need to fall asleep.
That was me last night.
Right? So, or like, I really need to like lose weight. Oh my gosh, like I'm going to eat this thing. I'm so hungry. All I want, you know, like, right? Like, God, everyone's eating cake. Why can't I eat cake? So what happens is when we over focus on the goal, literally like we are actually moving farther away from what it is that we want because our mind is so hyper focused that we can't relax. We can't be ourselves. We can't find the joy. And so one thing that I like to think about is if you make dating to where my joy is service. And what I mean by that is service being like, I'm going to be a light. Like I'm going to go into this date being like, I'm going to learn service to myself and service to you. So I'm going to try and make you feel comfortable because I'm comfortable. I'm going to be compassionate with myself, and then that'll help me be compassionate with you. And I'm going to not focus on do I like you or not, but I'm going to focus on like, how can I be engaged, but also make sure that I create space for someone to ask me questions, right? Like, so I'm going to be in service, right? So if I do that, that would be my joy. My service is also giving me joy, right? So then actually being that way is giving me joy. And so when you're in that mindset of like, my service is my joy and my joy is my service, then the experience just like, you're not thinking about the goal. And so we kind of have to trick our mind a little bit, right? And that's where the creator comes in. Cause then I'm just like, wow, my new goal is like, I want to practice showing up as more of me on dates and being less judgmental and ask better questions. I can totally do that. And I can probably have more fun when I do that. And so it's a total paradigm switch.
I like that shift. And I'm just going to think about some of the challenges that could come with that shift, which would be we can't shed completely our preconceived notions and societal conditioning. So some of that will creep back up. And I can hear some of my friends saying, I want to live my life that way, but I still feel guilty of divorce, feeling ashamed of a relationship not working out, feeling scared to walk away from something. How do we start living authentically, but also balance all the guilt and shame that we feel from anything failing?
Well, so I'm going like it's a good date or a bad date, and then I feel crappy that I got divorced. Those are such black and white paradigms. And I get that question all the time. Like, I'm so embarrassed I'm 47 and I was never married. Or I'm so embarrassed I'm 53 and I've been married 3 times, whatever it is. And so it's all about how you view that. And so if it's not a failure, but it's part of your evolution, the next iteration of your iPhone, you don't go, iPhone 6s sucked. Why did they even make those? That was a fail. You're like, no, that was like the best you could do at that time.
At that time.
Right. But then things change. Now we have like a 16 or whatever. So it's about messaging it. So first of all, it's about really believing that for yourself. And then how do you talk about it? So if someone says like, so have you been married before? And you go, well, honestly, I have. I've learned a lot. And the version of me that was 20 just believed that the best thing to do is to get married and have a picket fence and have children, right? And then I realized I didn't even really pick my partner. I just showed up and said yes. And then I realized, wow, we have nothing in common. And my journey was to be more of who I am. And so we had to end that, and then I felt so great about myself. I just blah, blah, right? And you go, and so honestly, like, I'm not going to spend 30 minutes telling you the story, but like, this is the evolution of myself and it's happened for me. And I am so ready now to actually have my next chapter be my best chapter because I know myself and I'm so excited to meet you, right? Because here's the thing, the person across from you or walking or on the other side of the app, they have their own shit and their own story.
Yeah.
And so the minute you say that, they're like, oh, thank God, she's not interviewing me. Like, I have a story too. Like, maybe we're on the same playing field. And so this is about understanding what if there are no fails. And someone also told me, and so write this one down. If you're not failing at something at least once a day, you're probably not like pushing yourself. You're probably you're not
putting yourself
living
out
your
there.
best, biggest life. And so you're going to fail. I mean, dating is full of like ultimate fails all the time in the traditional sense.
Well, I mean, if we're bringing it back to like, Silicon Valley and product culture, there's the fail fast mentality, right? And that's the lean startup. And the idea is there's no such thing as failure because you're always learning. And it's better to fail quicker than to spend all this time going down a path and then realizing it's wrong. So how do you learn and iterate from this? there. So I could see that also applying very much. I mean, obviously in dates, we've talked about this of it's better to put it out there and make the move and tell someone how you feel and learn quickly if they're not aligned. But even like if you're living a life that doesn't feel authentic, there's never like a time. I think a lot of people think like I'm too old now, or, you know, is it too late? Like, what's your take on that?
I love this. So I'm reading this book and I wish I could remember the name of it, but I just started it and it's something I would never read because it's super spiritual, self-helpy, but they're talking about like this Indian idea of like the Dharma, right? And your Dharma is your mission and your purpose. And there's this story about these two characters in this tradition. And the situation is that the one is so afraid to do anything. There's like impending battle and they're in the chariot and the one character, and I can't remember the character's name, just sits in the bottom of the chariot in the fetal position, like just afraid, paralyzed, right? And what this author is talking about is that what happens we do in our life is that we just get so paralyzed that we park our lawn chair, is what this person says, in the middle of inaction. We do nothing, right? But we're longing for that relationship, right? We're longing for this partner sharing your life with someone, but we get so entrenched in sitting in that lawn chair at the crossroads of doing nothing that it becomes comfortable and then we forget we're at a crossroads.
Well, it's easier
right?
to do nothing. Yeah.
And here's the big takeaway. And I think this is really what I talk about in my book about the 7 spiritual questions to leading a meaningful life. And one of them is, did you plant seeds? Like, did you create? And so inaction is a version of taking the unconscious or conscious road of doing nothing. And by doing nothing, you're still in creation, right? So what do you want to create? A meaningful life is creating something that propels you forward. If life is meant to be lived, then what if we totally flip it and we go, wow, like I really lived everything. I got rejected. I had the experience of going through a divorce.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, there is no life where if you do it right, then you are free from pain.
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners. Do you find that you sleep better when it's a bit cooler? I certainly do, and as the weather is getting warmer, this is top of mind because I run hot, especially when I sleep. So hot sleepers, listen up, this one is for you. You probably know Avocado Green Mattress for their certified organic mattresses, but did you know they also make unbelievably breathable, natural bedding? Avocado sheets and duvet inserts help regulate temperature so you sleep cool, dry, and comfortable all night long. And that's because organic sleeps cooler than cheaper synthetic alternatives. Their products definitely keep me cool, comfy, and sleeping soundly all night long. Now is the perfect time to refresh your bedroom as we head into summer. And not to mention, there is easy financing options with Affirm to make your purchase more accessible. Head to avocadomattress.com today to save 10% on all bedding and 50% on clearance bedding. Avocado, dream better.
Does it feel like most healthy snacks just taste so bland? Well, I think I may have found the perfect healthy snack. Washington Red Raspberries. They're a clean, simple, and seriously delicious way to add more nutrients to your day. So get this, they're American grown, picked at peak ripeness, and frozen within hours to lock in nutrients like fiber, antioxidants, and vitamin C. And I love to toss them in a smoothie or yogurt for breakfast or eat them as a healthy treat throughout the day. Grown with care by American farmers in Washington state, frozen Washington Red Raspberries are one of the best kept secrets in the freezer aisle. Make sure to always check the label for American grown frozen raspberries. Want to discover new ways to use American frozen red raspberries and get more details on where you can grab a bag of these delicious berries? Go to redraz.org. That's redrazz.org. You'll find recipes, healthy tips, retail locations, and everything you need to make frozen Washington Red Raspberries a regular part of your routine.
At Carowinds, we're serious about our guests having fun. Seriously, just listen to our Memorial Day sale. Buy a 2025 Silver Pass and get unlimited visits through Labor Day, plus free parking. Save $10 online at carowinds.com, plus taxes and fees.
We touched about it a bit, like some of the 7 questions that you have in your book. But one that really stood out to us that we kind of wanted to dial into more is the were you you?
Yes.
Because I think in dating, we hear 2 extremes. One, it's like the rules are like just the way dating works. Like this is how you're supposed to act. And then we hear people just say, just be yourself, just be you. And then people are like, but what does that mean? I think like it's hard to wrap our heads around that. I guess like for you, why is this one of the questions that stands out? And how do you think you can learn more about like what the authentic you is?
So my version of the authentic you is there's one unique soul. We all have one. How do I express this in the most full out freaking way that I possibly can in my life? As part of that design process, the empathy phase, right? Like get to know the user, right? Is really understanding at a soul level. And I call it your soul map. Like, who are you? What is your energy? Like, what are you? And so I invite people to go through a process that I walk them through to identify 3 core things to help figure out like, who are you really? And that is, what do I love? Mm-hmm. Like, what is it that I love? What lights me up? Nature, connection, escape rooms, reading, writing, cooking dinner, reading books. What are all the things, if I look back on my last 2 weeks and I were to be like finite, what were the things that were time stopped? I was super engaged. Like, this is what I love. It's like effortless. The second part is, how do I carry that out? What are your core motivations? So when you are in flow, like what is the thing that really motivates you, that really makes you feel like you're in that service? And these are often around values, right? And so once you get this soul map together, you're like, okay, so what if I just like really literally tried to design all my experiences optimally, where I'm doing what I love, how I love to do it, and my core motivations are aligned. When you date like that, it's great.
If we were to do a side-by-side comparison of the person who goes on dates with shoulds, they're doing the date review, they have a date persona, versus the person who goes on a date with their authentic self. Can you give us a side-by-side comparison of what those 2 dates would look like? How are they different?
Yes. So I had a client once, actually a male client way back when I was dating. So I'm going to use him as the before. He met this woman at a cafe and he started to ask her questions from her profile. And it turns out that her friend had written her profile for her because this is what she told her that people will like. And this is what you should say. And literally, I can't believe people are still doing the like, I like to dress up, but I also like to walk on the beach. You know, like.
I like travel.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like whatever. So they're sitting at the coffee shop and he's like, oh, so what's your favorite thing to order? There's a restaurant in LA called the Apple Pan. I don't know if you. And she was like, honestly, I would never go to a place like the Apple Pan.
Oh my God. Was it like, in her profile?
And he's like, it was in your profile. She was like, I don't know. My friend told me that will make me seem like low key and not very high maintenance, but I would never go to the Apple Pan.
Wow. That is bad.
He's like, okay. So, you know, they're having the thing and he's like, do you want to go for a walk on the beach? And she's like, I don't know. It's kind of windy. And he's like, oh, on your profile, you said you like to go on the beach. And she's like,
my God.
Well, I do, but like only like, you know, I'm not really wearing the right clothes and these shoes. And like, I don't know, like if I would have known, but anyway, so he was like, who are you?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so people write this version, whether you actually are dating offline or online, in your head, you have this idea of like what people like.
Yeah.
And you're putting on your butterflies and rainbow version of yourself. You're like chameleon, you know, you go in there and you're like, okay, what will make you happy?
Yep.
Especially if you think he's handsome or whatever it is, or rich, or you just want him to be the one finally. Then you're constantly moderating. You know, like I'm sure you guys have heard stories about, they're like, oh, do you want kids? And there's a woman who like really wants kids, but she's like, oh God, he's asking that question. Yeah. I don't know, maybe. I mean,
I should be chill.
I would, but like, I don't know. Do you want kids? Like, you know, where do you want to live? I don't know, city, town, like, I don't know. And so the old way is setting yourself up to try and be what you think is going to get to that goal that we talked about before. Yeah. And the new way is like writing in a profile that is literally an expression of your soul map, because you don't want to get everybody.
Right.
You want to get the person who is like actually a better match for you. And if you don't want kids or you want 7 kids, like, call me crazy. I actually want 7 kids.
Right. Yeah.
What about you? oh my God, hell no, I want 3. Cool. Let's just enjoy our meal and peace out. But if and if you have any friends who want 7 kids, send them my way, you know?
You know where to find me.
You know where to find me. Exactly. That's really it. Because when you're being you, the universe responds in kind and you just get these breadcrumbs, and then you will find yourself in a convention of people who want 7 kids with the right people. And that's great. But the thing is, I've been married for almost 16 years now, and I was married the first time for 17 years. So what I do know is that ultimately the real you will want to come out.
Right. You can't keep up an act for 17 years.
You can't. And so you might as well fly that freak flag right now and be who you are, but really who you are. Not the version who you think you should be, or the one you were 2 years ago or 5 years ago in your last relationship, or with the guy that you really liked before, but really, really you. And be honest. And that's one of the other questions, where you're radically honest with yourself, you know, and you put all of these 7 questions together, and the journey of life is going to bring you your person at exactly the right time for you.
I mean, could not agree more. I mean, I think when you're acting like a dating chameleon, like you're actually robbing yourself of finding the right person, because there's just no way. And I know, like, before I met my partner, I feel like I was getting quote unquote rejected more than ever before. And I think a big part of it was that because I was just being myself. Like, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to hold back. And in other parts of dating, I certainly wasn't. I was definitely that like dating persona and showing up a certain way. I guess though, like for people that are still like struggling, I love the soul map, but like what other ways? Like I think for me, a big, I guess an example was I had to tap into like how I was with my friends and bring that to dates more. Like, are there any other like things that people can tap into that can help them bring that into dating?
Yeah. So one of the exercises I have my clients do is really simple. It's like, where in your life do you shine? Literally write it out. Like, and think about the roles, like friend, sibling, mother, sister, colleague. For a lot of people, it's like, I crush at work. Okay, great. Yeah. Like as a leader, as a manager, as a squirrel, like you're like good at detail. Like where do you shine? And then look at where do you hide? Like where in your life and what roles do you hide? Now, here's what's crazy. You're the same person.
Yeah.
Right? And so then you're a detective and you go, well, what are the conditions? How do I feel when I'm shining? I feel comfortable. I feel confident. I feel like I can be silly. I feel like I can be playful. I feel like people are respecting me. Okay, great. So then how, if I brought that part of me to those places where I hide, and usually dating is one of them, how would I show up completely different? So why not? It's, you know, a dating buffet out there. You can take a bite. You don't like it, go find someone else. Go on an experiment and say, I'm going to do 3 dates, 3 different people. And I'm going to make this list. I'm just going to really show up as the person who shines. So maybe it's like you're the best aunt ever, you know, or like at work, people just really respect you and listen to you because you listen to them. Right? You like allow people to feel seen. You're like, cool, I'm just going to go to this thing with this guy and I'm going to be like, I'm just going to listen to you and I'm going to really try and hear you and be curious about you, but also be confident. Like try it on, see what happens. And that's how dating can be iterative, because if you just keep experimenting and trying different ways to practice being you, then every single date gives you feedback, because you're going to realize like, you know, why you do or why you don't. Also, when you do that, you're not attached to the outcome. And then just generally in life, things are a lot more enjoyable when you're just like, I'm just doing this because I'm learning. I'm just practicing what I learned on this really cool episode of the DATEABLE podcast.
I think like speaking of patterns, you talk about like tracking your energetic flow in your book of like what gives you energy and then what depletes it, and then moving out of the stuff that maybe depletes it. We hear a lot of people saying, well, dating depletes my energy. It's in the level 0 to 2. But then also it's like we don't want people to give up on dating, especially if they want eventually to have that relationship. What's a way, I guess, in your opinion, to either shift that feeling of 0 to 2 higher? Or do you say, I am going to take a break if I'm really at a 0 to 2?
Well, this is so cool. So when I work with people, they're so good at silver lining stuff. They're like, how could I make this not a 0 or 2, but it's not authentic? So what I would say to that client, and I have, is, so let's talk about the dates you're going out on. Do they line up with your what, your how, and your why? And most of them don't. So number 1 is the why. Let's just start with the end. So if you're going out because you're like, I need to find a partner, I need to get a result, 2025 is my year. That feels shitty. If my why, and like, let's say I'm not going to talk about dating, but for me, I remember this was a huge thing, was like, I really, really value connection. I love actually connecting with people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to shift my why to like, all I care about is making connections. Okay. How? I had a client once who went to cafe. You're supposed to go to coffee, right? You have to go to coffee. Well, she actually doesn't hear so well. So number one, she read online that when you're dating, you're supposed to sit a certain way and you're supposed to like lean back and do this thing. And so she couldn't hear she couldn't hear anything what the person said.
God. That's amazing.
She was like so embarrassed to say what, and she was leaning back and it was like clink, clink, clink. And she was like, I hate it. I just want it to be over. So how for her, I'd be like, okay, great. Well, where do you feel comfortable? Right? Like a lot of people are like, I like to go on walks. I like to hike. So how do you want to set up your dates?
Yeah.
People, they do want to FaceTime first. They don't want to FaceTime first. They want to talk on the phone for 20 minutes. They don't. They want to text. They don't. Like, be in your how. Do it in a way that you're like, this totally works for me. And then shift your what and be really honest. It's like paying the bills. You have to do it, but you can set it up in your what, your how, and your why so that it's an expression of you living your best life.
Mm-hmm. I love that shift. I think it's just so, foundational to this whole conversation. I mean, I'm so glad we were able to dive into this with you deeper of just like this feeling of authenticity and like your authentic self and how that really relates just living your best life, which in turn goes to dating and relationships. Like one of my favorite chapters in our book is showing up. And we think about it of just like, oh, where do I go on this date? Or what do I wear? But it's actually what we're talking about here of just like, how am I my most authentic self? How am I showing up and giving that energy that I want out there? And I think one of my biggest takeaways from this conversation too, that continues is like, we can't be afraid to scare away the wrong people.
Yes.
And also have that stamina. Like, it's a lot easier to date if you're not being like, I need to conform to the way I should be and like lean back when you have bad hearing. Like, that's exhausting.
And that's what makes it exhausting is when we're pretzeling ourselves in, when we're forcing it, when we're not intentional and we're just trying to slam through it to get the result. It's like definitely not going to be fun. When you're lying in your profile, when you're saying yes to people you really have no interest in going out with, when you feel so bad about telling someone you don't want to see them again that you ghost them, it feels shitty. Mm-hmm. So that one client that I interviewed the other day, she was like, basically everything I did just made me feel shitty about myself.
Right.
So why would I want to do it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think my main takeaway from all of this too is like, we think that we need like meaning and purpose to come from the big milestones. But it's really between the milestones is where we find what matters and who we are and what we do. And I love the frameworks you gave people that they can go through and find that soul map and all the different activities to really like hone in on that more. And I guess like my final takeaway is using this motto of like dating like a designer and really not being afraid to iterate and say like, maybe I'm not who I was 2 years ago. And that's okay. That's actually a good thing if I'm not the same person. And using dating as a growth opportunity in the beginner's mindset of always be learning. That is a huge part to like really flip some of these shoulds and take them out of our vocabulary.
And the last thing I want to say too is I do think it's really important in that what and how and why to really actually think about what kind of relationship you want because it is a new era.
Yeah.
We can live separate. We can have separate bedrooms. We can have bi-coastal marriages. We
talk about this in our book a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember with my husband actually, like he had a 5-year freak out and he was like, I'm really afraid I can't be or do all the things that I want and be married. And I was like, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, like, what if I wanted to like go sail the world? I was like, cool, go sail the world. I'll literally meet you in the cool places I want to be, right? Like, I talk to more and more people who don't share the same bedroom or bathroom with their partner. Like literally, you guys get to design your relationship for you. And so like really question every assumption and make it be like your ideal life, live life, date life on your terms. And that is radical. And there is no fucks to give. Just do it.
Well, that was going to be my takeaway is, to be honest, I was a little scared to read anything about living a radical life because that in my head puts a lot of pressure on my life. I'm thinking like, oh, I got to go skydiving next week and I got to have all these like major milestones and all these highs. But your book is really about how to be radically you, which is what you just said.
Yes.
And I've been reading so much about how for so long we were talking about like the law of attraction, attracting what you want and the universe gives it back. But there's this concept of law of resonance where the universe gives back who you are. So it's not about what you want, it's about who you are. And that's what you end up attracting. And that's what this conversation really culminated for me as well. It's like living this radical life is giving to the universe the unique soul that you are so the universe can give back the unique experiences that are to you. And that's beautiful because it is so unique to all of our lives. And we don't need to follow anybody else's path because we have our own unique soul map to follow. So thank you, Marni.
My pleasure. It's just so fun. I just want everyone to understand that we are in this time of freedom. So be freedom.
Yeah.
Be freedom.
Love that. Where can people get your book so they can get a hold of all this information? Because I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
So you can go to radicallivingchallenge.com. All the info about the book and where to order it is there. And I'm just super excited. This is like my life's work and my philosophy of living a meaningful life. And I don't want people to wait till they're in their 50s to do that, or their 60s or their 70s. So this is my mission.
If they are, it's not too late.
That's true. That is true. Never too late.
Never too late, for sure.
We will link everything in the show notes as well so people can find it.
Thank you, guys.
Fantastic. And thanks to our listeners for listening. What does living a radical life mean to you? What are you going to start implementing tomorrow? Let us know in the comments of your rating and reviews on Apple Podcasts. While you're there, why don't you order our book too, howtobedateable.com. You can find all the info there. All right, we're going to wrap up this episode.
Stay dateable.